Are you and your family ready in case of a natural disaster or emergency? That's something my family in North Carolina had to ask and experience firsthand, having gone through Hurricane Helene right there in Western North Carolina. So, here with me today is my mom, who was right there near Asheville, North Carolina. Many of you probably saw Asheville on the news. And so, Mom, how was it going through the storm? I think everyone's wanting to know. And also, what tips or tricks would you recommend for people in case they're in an emergency?
Yeah, this is something like we'd never been through before, and I'd lived there for over 30 years because we're normally sheltered from those kind of things. But yeah, we were without power for 11 days, which is very stressful. We didn't have running water. We didn't have hardly any cell service for the first week. So it was really hard. But the great thing about it was so much community got together. Like we couldn't even go out of our road. There was trees down everywhere, probably 100 trees across the road, across power lines, and the neighbors just all got out there with their chainsaws, and they had a big work bee, and within several hours, it took several hours, but we were able to dodge our way through the trees they had cut, and we were going under power lines, over power lines, but they were all dead, so it didn't matter. And it was really great to just see the community working together. So that was something that I hadn't thought about during a disaster, how it brings you together through that experience. But some of the things I would really recommend that we did well was we had flashlights. We have 4 people in our house, and they all have flashlights. And we had water. We had gotten big buckets of water because our water is run by electricity because we have well water, and you have to have the electricity to do that. And so that was the things we did have. So I was glad for that. Some of the things we didn't think about is we really should have had our car full of gas, because gas, first of all, was non-existent because there was no pumps to pump it. And so it was very, very scary because I only had not even a quarter tank of gas, and your dad had about that much too. So that was hard, but we stood in line when they finally one place got open, and my husband stood in line for 2 hours waiting for gas. I have friends that were 6 hours waiting for gas. It was very, very hard. We had to have cash. Thankfully, we did have cash on hand. So I recommend people always have cash on hand because none of the credit card places were working or anything. So that was really important. We did not have any trees or flooding at our particular house, except for all the trees that went down the road. But I have church members, friends that their whole house flooded, and it was really, really hard. So it was emotionally draining, but like I said, people got together, everyone got to their house and was helping to dig out. So that was really nice, and people from all over the country came. So I was grateful for that. We even had power company people from Michigan, Illinois, Texas, Missouri. Those are the ones I can think of that we saw, and Ohio. And we were just so grateful that all these linemen from everywhere were coming and working so hard because the entire Western North Carolina was without power for a while. And so just bringing everyone back on was very, very difficult. And so many communities have lost everything. So thankful for all the people that came and had points of distribution all over. And it's just, that was the really great thing, is all the places that came together to help people who did lose everything.
Yeah, yeah, going through such a tough time. It's great to see the community coming together.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and one of the key things at emergency and what we're all about here at Country Life is making sure people have the right foods
Yeah.
and access to good foods that you can cook and make in emergency like that. So, what kind of foods did you guys have, and yeah, anything you could share there?
Yeah. So thankfully, we did have a small generator. We were able to run that a couple hours in the morning, a couple hours at night, just to keep the basic stuff cold. We had Country Life granola, the maple pecan, our favorite, and we were able to eat that. I had walnuts and pecans and almonds from Country Life. Those are really great shelf stable things. We get our protein, and we ate those. That was super nice. And there's some other products I love from Country Life that are great for those kind of situations. So I really love this Cuban black bean soup. This is one of my favorites. It's very tasty, and all you have to do is add water. So it's great for camping, great for when you're in your house in a disaster, you have no power. We could cook this on our propane stove, just add water. So this is a really great, and they have several different kinds of soup, but I really like this one, the Cuban black bean soup. And another thing that I have two teenage boys at home, and they love dried fruit. And so Country Life has a great selection of dried fruit. This one is one of my boys' favorites, the mango slices. They love that. They come in a smaller size, bigger size, this size. And so this is super nice to have because it's hard to have produce. We didn't have any produce for several days before the trucks finally were able to come in. So it's nice to just have some dried fruit. This is really nice because it's low sugar. So for if you're trying to be healthy, I love their tart cherries. I love their dried apples. They have so many great things that you can use in a disaster, even when you don't have power and you don't have refrigeration.
And so what was it like amidst all the storm and all the chaos trying to go to the grocery store? Maybe people that didn't have foods.
Yes.
How was their experience?
Yeah, that was really hard because at first the grocery stores were not open. Even the grocery stores had no power. So for days, there wasn't grocery stores. So we were thankful for the stuff that we did have in our pantry. But finally they opened and there was lines. So the grocery stores, they'd let in a few people at a time. The shelves were bare of produce at first, but they did have like cans of things and things that you could use. And then eventually, thank goodness, the trucks started coming in. It's a very difficult way because I-40, those of you who have been in North Carolina, or I-40 goes all the way to California. But anyway, I-40 was washed away with a mudslide. So it was very hard. The trucks had to go a long ways to get in, but they did finally come in, and then produce and things started coming in. It took probably a good week before the grocery stores had the basics that we needed. So we were very thankful to have supplies on hand while we were waiting for that.
Thanks so much for sharing, Mom. As we learned right here, it's important for you and your family to be prepared in case of a disaster or natural emergency. Because even if you're in a place like Western North Carolina, where you're hundreds of miles from the coast, so you don't picture being impacted by a hurricane, and you maybe live in an area where there's tornadoes or those kinds of things as well. It's so important, as this is the first hand example, for you and your family just to be prepared in case of an emergency, and also just to have a stocked pantry. So that way, if something does happen, you not only have food for yourself and your family, but also for your neighbors and everything as well. So you can really have a good sense of community, like what happened there in Western North Carolina after such a devastating storm with Hurricane Helene. And so I encourage you, put an order in here from Country Life, so that way you and your family can have healthy, shelf-stable things in case of an emergency, and also just to eat and share with your family and friends. Thank you so much for tuning in, and our thoughts and prayers are with all those that are impacted with the storms, both Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. And thank you for all what you're doing, first responders, to help with the storms there. And thank you for our Country Life customers for all you do. And we encourage you to get some healthy foods for you and your family to enjoy.